From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aishah Ashraf. Our top story for today: President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for the Department of Defense is under fire following explosive allegations of unprofessional conduct. An investigation by New Yorker magazine published on Sunday and sourced from a whistleblower details various complaints about former Fox News host Pete Hegseth. These include drunkenly chanting "Kill all Muslims," showing up drunk at public events when representing a veterans organization, and repeated allegations of sexual misconduct. The incidents took place while he was leading the nonprofit groups Concerned Veterans for America, or CVA, and Vets for Freedom, or VFF. The report notes that Hegseth has also been involved in financial mismanagement and creating a hostile work environment, especially toward women. Hegseth was eventually phased out as head of VFF. This was after he admitted to donors in 2009 that the group only had $1,000 in the bank but owed more than $400,000 in unpaid bills. Accusations of a sexual assault in 2017 have added to the doubts surrounding his ability to lead a major department like the Pentagon. California Governor Gavin Newsom is one of the Democratic lawmakers who launched a special state legislative session this week. The session aims to protect the state's progressive policies from possible federal challenges under President-elect Donald Trump. Assembly member Jesse Gabriel has introduced legislation to designate $25 million for legal fees. This will be to respond to potential attacks by the Trump administration on state civil rights, climate change, immigration, and abortion access policies. California has previously sued Trump's administration over 120 times, spending approximately $42 million in litigation costs during Trump's first administration. The president-elect has often targeted and mocked California as representing all that he sees wrong in America. In specific, he has attacked its large number of immigrants in the country illegally, the state's homeless population, as well as its heavy list of regulations. Amnesty International has appealed to outgoing President Joe Biden to safeguard the estimated 11.7 million undocumented immigrants at risk. As President-elect Donald Trump prepares to re-enter office with aggressive deportation plans, Amnesty emphasizes the critical need for Biden to act swiftly. Amnesty highlights Trump's harsh immigration tactics, including family separations and the overhaul of asylum policies. With Trump's inauguration approaching and figures like anti-immigrant Stephen Miller steering his immigration agenda, Amnesty says the call for Biden to prevent potential human rights violations is pressing. Specifically, the human rights watchdog is urging Biden to issue new temporary protected status and deferred enforced departure designations. These will help extend authorization dates for individuals who have already been paroled into the United States. The organization also proposes measures such as issuing new protections, extending paroles, and expanding legal avenues for immigrants. President-elect Donald Trump has warned that there will be all hell to pay if Israeli prisoners held in Gaza are not released by his January 20, 2025 inauguration. In a fiery statement on Truth Social, Trump criticized the lack of action in freeing the prisoners. He also threatened unprecedented retaliation against those responsible for what he called atrocities against humanity. This comes amid Israel's ongoing war and genocide in Gaza, where the Israeli military has killed over 44,000 people, mostly women and children. It has also displaced millions and destroyed much of its infrastructure, including schools and hospitals. Meanwhile, Hamas reports that 33 Israeli prisoners have died, mostly from Israeli airstrikes. Trump's tough stance echoes his previous controversial policies in the Middle East during his first presidency, including relocating the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Texans Al-Shaair slams critics after controversial hit. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. Houston Texans player Al-Shaair has apologized to Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence. This is following a controversial play which resulted in a concussion for Lawrence. Al-Shaair said the tackle was not intentional and that his aim in football is always fair competition, not to injure others. As well, the Muslim player said he was disappointed with how the media and some fans handled the incident. Al-Shaair said they attributed negative motives to his actions due to his race, religion, as well as his pro-Palestinian stance. The International Criminal Court, or ICC, has collected more evidence and information in the past 18 months than it has in the 20 years since it was founded. ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan emphasized the court's recent intense efforts during his address at the 23rd session of the Assembly of States Parties to the ICC's Rome Statute. Non-governmental organizations and victims submitted a large number of documents and evidence under Article 15 of the Rome Statute. Of the 30 arrest warrants issued by the court, the chief prosecutor said 18 were issued within the last 3 years. He touched on the importance of working and acting together to better fulfill the court's purpose and the tasks assigned to it under the Rome Statute. On November 21st, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israeli forces killed at least 36 Palestinians and injured 96 others in Gaza in the past 24 hours. The health ministry reports intensified airstrikes, particularly in Beit Lahia, where the majority of casualties occurred. Additionally, a significant attack in Gaza City led to the destruction of a 4-story building, claiming more lives. The Israeli army also launched an airstrike on the Omar Mukhtar Bazaar in Gaza City on Monday. Compounding the military onslaught, the Israeli army has reportedly damaged 206 archaeological and heritage sites in Gaza. These include historically significant locations like the Great Omari Mosque, the Greek Orthodox Saint Porphyrius Church, and the Byzantine Church in Jabalia. Ismail Thawebte from the Palestinian Government Media Office highlighted the deliberate targeting of these cultural landmarks. He condemned the acts as part of Israel's broader genocidal campaign. Simultaneously, Israeli forces renewed their attacks in southern Lebanon, undermining a recent ceasefire with Hezbollah and resulting in the killing of 12 people. Lebanese authorities have urged international intervention, seeking help from the U.S. and France to uphold the ceasefire and prevent further violations. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 44,502 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and wounded 105,454 since October 7, 2023. Last month, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. The Palestinian government has called on the UN Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, to find alternative routes for aid delivery to Gaza. This is following the suspension of shipments via the Kerem Shalom crossing due to security concerns. The UN agency announced on Sunday that it was halting humanitarian aid deliveries into Gaza via the Israeli-controlled crossing, citing security concerns. This escalation worsens the severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with significant food shortages worsening as the 18-year Israeli blockade continues. UNRWA Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini said in an alarming incident, a large convoy of aid trucks was stolen by armed gangs on November 16th. Israeli daily Haaretz reports the armed groups in Gaza were allowed to steal aid shipments while Israeli forces turned a blind eye. The Palestinian government accused Israel of coordinating with the gangs to steal aid shipments, effectively preventing critical supplies from reaching those in need. In a statement, the media office said that Israeli forces were complicit in allowing the looting to continue unchecked. It suggests Israel is deliberately trying to worsen the humanitarian crisis. Iran is set to implement the Hijab law, officially known as the Promoting Chastity and Hijab Culture to Support the Family, on December 13th. This contentious legislation prescribes fines between $71 and more than $2,000 for non-compliance with the country's dress code. Violators who do not settle their fines within 10 days will face severe restrictions. These include being barred from accessing government services, banking, and obtaining documents like passports and driver's licenses. The law has been criticized by Abbas Ahundi, former minister in Hassan Rouhani's government. He has appealed to President Masoud Pezeshkian to veto the bill, suggesting it could alienate the public. Meanwhile, backlash to mandatory hijab regulations has been ongoing, notably since the 2022 death of Mahsa Amini in police custody for a related infraction. That ignited months of deadly protests. Another 220 deaths have been discovered at the Canadian Indian residential schools, raising the province of Ontario's total to 656. According to a recent coroner's report, the exhaustive investigation probing files and formally sealed criminal records identified infectious diseases as a predominant cause of death. However, some deaths showed signs of what would now be considered criminal negligence. This ongoing inquiry aims to finally put names to these unnamed victims, providing long-awaited answers to their families. The horrific findings from schools like St. Anne's, St. Joseph's, and the Mohawk Institute underline a dark chapter in Canada's history. The National Truth and Reconciliation Commission continues to unearth the fates of thousands, mostly children, lost to these institutions. The commission estimates the number of deaths at 4,500, mostly children who were buried in sometimes unmarked graves. In a number of cases, families were not notified of the deaths of their children. Chief Coroner Dr. Dirk Hoyer said the vast majority do not know anything or very much about what happened to these children. Mali's army eliminated several high-ranking militant commanders on Sunday in Tinzautin Kidal region. The army targeted members of a militant network accused of launching attacks against civilians and Malian forces aimed at destabilizing the region. Bobakar Bakoum from the SCNE Center for Strategic Studies highlighted the operation's significance in combating emerging separatist threats. Meanwhile, 5 separatist groups announced the formation of the Azawad Liberation Front, seeking independence for northern Mali. These groups, along with Jama'at Nusrat al-Islam wal-Muslimin and the Messina Liberation Front, are considered by the Malian government to be terrorist organizations. This alliance includes groups previously part of a peace agreement that collapsed in 2023. It has led to renewed hostilities and a stronger military response from Mali, supported by Russian auxiliaries. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.